In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use the package URL launcher to open up web browsers like this, like a custom URL. You can also use this package to open up your telephone app, send SMS, open the mail app, open Facetime, and also open up files from Windows, macOS, or Linux. Let's get started. So the package we're using is called URL_launcher. Currently it's the version 6.0.20 and it supports Android, iOS, Linux, macOS, web, and Windows. All you have to do is click here to copy it to clipboard, and then in your pub/spec YAML, paste it here under your dependencies and then do a pub/get. Next, in our iOS info.plist file, we need to add some properties. So you go under your iOS folder, then under runner, and then open up the info.plist file. And then at the very end, you just paste this in here. As you can see on the website, it has these, so you can just copy this. So this specifies that you use HTTPS, HTTP. For example, if you want to open up mails, then you use this one. If you want to open up the telephone, then you will use this one. If you want to use SMS, then you use this one. And for FaceTime, you use this one. For the Android setup, you go under your Android folder, under app, source, main, and open up the manifest file. And then in your root element, which is manifest, you paste these queries in there. And the same goes as for iOS. So if you want to use HTTPS, you use this. So this whole intent tag for HTTP, telephone, SMS, and for sending mail. So what I did also was just setting up a very simple Flutter app and then just put in the center of the app just an elevated button with the on pressed is calling the launch browser function. I've outsourced all the launch functions to a different file so that it looks more clean this way. And I've put this all under the helper file. In here you can still find what you need for the iOS info plist and also for the Android manifest for the queries. So it's very simple. In order to open up the browser, you just need to define the URL. In this case it's flutter.dev, and then you say, by the way, this is an asynchronous function, so you can just call launch URL and then await it. If it wasn't successful, then it will print could not launch the URL. You can also use await can launch with the URL. This also directly returns a boolean, but it doesn't launch the URL. So you could also alternatively put this in here, and if it can launch, then you would call the await launch, else you would then print out the error. And so if we run this, we can just now press launch and it opens up the web browser. Also now, if you wanted to use the URL launcher package to launch an email or to open up the email app, I've written this function here, launch mail. So basically you define the URI, you leave this scheme, and then you define here your recipient. So in this case, smith@example.com, and then you use this helper function, encode query parameters to define the subject of the email. This is the subject, and this is then the body of the email. You have to change, of course, both these. And then simply launch the defined email launch URI. Don't forget to put here the toString here. And this will then launch the mail app with the defined parameters. If you want to launch an SMS, then you simply need a phone number. In this case, this is just an example phone number. Of course, you have to change it. And then you use the same with the encode query parameters function right here. And you use for the path, you use the phone number, and then you give it a body. Of course, you have to change it again, but this is basically the SMS you want to send. And then in this case, you check can launch. And of course, don't forget to use URI.toString. And if it can launch the URI, then it will launch it. Otherwise, it will print out that it could not launch it. If you want to open up the phone number or the phone dialer, then you again need the phone number. And you just then use the URL with TEL for telephone, short, colon, and then the phone number. And then again, you can check whether you can launch it. And if you can launch it, then you launch it. So you open up the phone dialer, otherwise it will print out it could not launch. If you want to open up FaceTime, then you can also use the URL launcher package. Here again you need the phone number for the FaceTime, and here you define FaceTime : so all you have to do is change the phone number. Then again you check whether you can launch it, and if it's possible then you launch it, otherwise it prints out it could not launch. If you want to open up a video call with Android, there is no go-to video call app directly within Android. That's why you should use another package, which is called Android Intent Plus. If you want to have a custom tutorial on this, just let me know down in the comments. Alright, and now lastly, you can launch files with Windows, macOS and Linux. So all you have to define is the path to the file. So this is the correct scheme for macOS and Linux. If you were to define the file path in Windows, of course this should not be a / but a \, and then you define the uri.file with the file path, and then you first check if the file exists. If so, then you launch it, otherwise it prints out you could not launch. I hope this helps. If you have any questions or remarks, please let me down in the comments, and thank you for watching.